The eldest member of parliament has urged fellow MPs to guarantee the return to normalcy in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon during the March session of parliament, which opened today in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. This is coming after SDF MPs as well as senators failed to include the Anglophone crisis on the agenda of the November session of parliament that was in 2017. Also in this newscast, the Association for the Defense of Students' Rights, known in its French acronym as ADEC, has so far called for the unconditional release of the various teachers that are currently being detained in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. It should be noted that the various teachers have been given ultimatum as well as conditions for them to regain their freedom. In this newscast, we tell you more. Plus, Professor Maurice Kamto, the national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement, says that failure by the government in providing concrete solutions to the Anglophone crisis explains why the situation is further escalating. That is going to be in the second part of this newscast. Those are headlines. Stay with us. We shall be right back. Let's begin right away in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Good evening to you, ladies and gentlemen. We thank you so much for joining us. The eldest member of parliament has called on the members of the lower house to mobilize during the first plenary sitting for the 2018 legislative year and guarantee the return to normalcy in the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Honorable Eno Tanjong condemned violence and the recent killings of soldiers and gendarmerie officials in the northwest and the southwest regions. Honorable Eno Tanjong urged youths in Cameroon to massively register and actively take part in the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon. At the level of the Senate, it was the last plenary sitting for the members of the upper house whose mandate would expire this month when the senatorial election would finally take place. That's going to be on the 25th of March 2018. The eldest member of the Senate, Vendredi Mukete, pledged the full support of the Senate to the President of the Republic in addressing the current socio-political crisis rocking the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon and also in the preservation of national unity in the country. Senator Vendredi Mukete commended the efforts of the President of the Republic in guaranteeing national unity and fostering economic growth. The senatorial election would take place, as I indicated, on the 25th of March. Members of the Constitutional Council will be sworn in to their office. That's going to be on the 6th of March 2018. We now talk about absence of electricity in some parts of the littoral region of Cameroon. This time around, we take you to the Mongo division, where electricity supply company have continued to show their inability to offer their services to Cameroonians, especially in the Mongo division of the littoral region of Cameroon. Inhabitants of Manjo in the Mongo division have been for several weeks now in the dark, as Katrin Kone tells us in this report.
The poles have fallen since February 11. We are surprised till now they are still in the same state. How will children study in dark? They are unable to read due to the absence of electricity. It has been weeks of despair in Manjo in the Mongo division of the littoral region. The reactions of the angry residents tells us how they now live in fear with the exposed electric poles and cables littering all over the street of Manjo. Activities have been paralyzed due to the absence of electricity. Students, on their part, complain of facing difficulties preparing for their examination due to the power cut. The impact of the problem is general, as several neighborhoods are being affected. Manjo has been without electricity since February 11, 2018. Several electric poles and cables are lying on the ground to the indifference of the company in charge of the electricity. According to the quarter head, several efforts have been made for the lights to be reinstated, but their effort seems to yield no fruit. It should be noted that several parts in the Mongo division are suffering from the epileptic supply of electricity.
And the scores of teachers that were arrested on Tuesday are still behind bars in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. The teachers who were apprehended for protesting against the non-payment of their salaries and poor working conditions told members of the Association for the Defense of Students' Rights, ADEC, that the signing of an undertaking is the price that they have to pay to be able to regain their freedom. Members of ADEC indicated that they are going to be mobilizing their efforts to secure their unconditional release, and also they ensure that the government of Cameroon respect the decisions of the various teachers and ensure that their plights are addressed. Let's have the details of that report with Equinoxe and Aze.
There are 56 engineering teachers arrested and jailed in Yaoundé early this week for demanding payment of years of accumulated salaries. Access to these incarcerated teachers by their families and lawyers has been impossible. It was only on Wednesday and Thursday that a team from the Association for the Defense of Students' Rights, ADEC, led by its Vice President Andre Bayemi, succeeded to meet the 56 jailed teachers, 8 of whom are women and 2 nursing mothers.
Et hier, nous avons pu rendre visite officiellement à toute la délégation.
Andre Bayemi learned that government is giving humiliating conditions which the incarcerated teachers must succumb to before they are released.
Qu'ils signent, qu'ils reconnaissent qu'ils ont troublé l'ordre public.
They must accept of inciting public disorder, abandoning their duty post, accept to organize a press conference in which they will declare they have no problem. That they must equally accept to dissolve the newly created syndicates of Teachers' Trade Union and recognize the old one. Government added that the teachers should accept they will quit all WhatsApp groups, and the worst being to accept their salaries are already being paid and ask for forgiveness from government.
Et le pire, c'est de reconnaître que leur salaire passe déjà.
The teachers have stood on ground. They will never sign such conditions before they are liberated, reiterating they are fighting for their rights.
Le grand nombre reconnaît qu'ils sont dans leurs droits et que c'est l'État qui devrait normalement leur demander pardon.
Members of the Association for the Defense of Students' Rights have vowed to continuously fight for the unconditional release of the 56 teachers treated as rubbish by government authorities.
Nous restons mobilisés pour que l'État libère ces enseignants sans condition aucune.
Lawyers are already warming up to defend the teachers whose rights are grossly violated by government big guns.
In the southwest region of Cameroon, we take you now down memory lane in 1998 when Mount Cameroon in Boya Fako division erupted, destroying houses and property. The promise that was met during that time by the President of the Republic of Cameroon to local inhabitants in what is now called the Poto neighborhood is still to be fulfilled. Life has not been the same again since the incident occurred, according to some local inhabitants. Derek Jato takes us to that part of Cameroon and now, or as Cameroon is now observing the International Day for Civil Protection. His report.
20 years after this area was hit by the Mount Cameroon eruption, Equinoxe television returns to Poto Quarter, a zone in Boya subdivision geologically proven to be along a fault line, and the damages left behind by the 1998 tremor is still very visible.
The army came, built a 10-day, we were sleeping outside for 2 weeks. There was a 10-day and a 10 in this compound. All of us here were sleeping outside for 2 weeks.
It was too severe that President Paul Biya came down to Boya to take stock. Mr. Tofil Takwa was born and bred here in this Poto Quarter. He was present when President Paul Biya came to console them, the victims.
Yes. President Paul came from here, came from there, the car stopped here, entered here, there was no house here then, there was a tent here.
Madam Ngwa even pointed where President Paul Biya stood that 1998 to address them.
Like here, Paul Biya they can come. That way the tremor, they don't happen. What they call it, camp. So when it is done, it gives peace, gives peace.
But all the promises made that day, not even one has been realized.
This now I lost all my buildings. This one down backside, if you go backside, all that needs to be down. Down I lost all the buildings there. Even just some Good Samaritan church can build this one. We managed it before. But nothing was done. There was no point. There was nothing done. After we went back, before we go back, he get 500,000 in an envelope to the chief of this area. The chief of this area, he says to distribute the money for we who were affected. Chibindere was here. He took the money when I met Chibindere, left Chibindere. They divided the money within themselves. After the year went back, there was a Roman in Cameroon. We had to find the Tribune to buy and then see it. Roman quoted 600 million to send to us who were affected. I sat down, I wrote a letter to Mr. B. I registered that letter. Whether I received it or didn't receive it, I don't know. I don't have problem. Then we were waiting to look at a place and evacuate. We think it's a layout. Because we are living in a danger zone as we don't talk.
This area remains a risk zone, and the residents here, while calling on the government to assist by relocating them, are preparing for the worst each second.
This year, we try to prepare. So the way na march, we're gonna march it in the occur. Any man keeping what they call us safety back, way back, pick that one. With the go, with small blanket to reach under some tree. You cover your skin, rest before you continue your journey.
As Cameroon joined the rest of the world to celebrate the 2018 International Day of Civil Protection, which is celebrated under the theme Civil Protection and National Institutions for a More Efficient Management of Catastrophes, Mr. Matthew Theophile, the head of Economic, Social and Cultural Division at the Southwest Governor's Office, who was on the field, called on the public to stop constructing in risk-prone zones.
Sensitize the people, sensitize the population, especially those building in areas like these ones which are prone to risks. The fact that until now nothing has happened, it doesn't mean something will not happen.
Today in Boyasok Division, the quest for land has pushed people to construct even in risk zones, caring less of what might befall them, even in the nearest future.
And the national president of the Reform Party, Senior Barrister Ashu Agbo Emmanuel, has said that he is going to kick out the Biya regime and save Cameroon from drowning in the plethora of economic, social and political problems plaguing her and her people. He was leading, or he said that he's going to be leading his party at the 2018 presidential election in Cameroon with what he qualified as the master plan for the development and growth as well as the well-being of the entire population in Cameroon. Here now is an extract of his declaration during the press conference that he held yesterday here in the economic capital, Douala. He spoke to Babla Jonathan.
Reform Party, of which I have the honor to be the national president, is announcing to the Cameroonian public and the world that I, Senior Barrister Agbo Ashu Emmanuel, will be running as Reform Party candidate for the 2018 election in Cameroon. Reform Party is the only party in this country and maybe in Africa that feels that employment can be created from our own means. We don't need foreign investors. We don't need foreign banks, what the people call bailleurs de fonds. We don't need them. We have enough resources here to create enough employment to employ our youth and prevent them from going to die at Lampedusa. It is really astonishing that Cameroon is a producer of palm oil, a giant producer, but we import oil from Gabon. And I ask myself the question: we have the big oil mills here. Why can this CPDM government not make it possible for the youth, whom they call upon every day to engage in agriculture, to produce even the permanent fruits so that they can make sufficient oil for the population? A plan of action to end corruption. We are not talking about reducing it, we say to end corruption. I want to take the first part of it, which is the institutional measures that we want to put in place to end corruption. We thank the CPDM regime for creating CONAC, and the audit bench. But we say that this government has made nonsense of those two institutions by saying that their reports have to go to the president. We are saying that if CONAC were to table channel its reports to a magistrate, like the president, like the Procurator General of the Supreme Court, that magistrate will send this report against the people who have stolen our monies to the competent court that will immediately arrest them. And the audit bench, you have the audit bench which is supposed to look into the accounts of, audit bench of Supreme Court, look into the accounts of parastatal companies and the directors of public, managers of public funds. But unfortunately, this court does not pass any judgment. So we think that it is a court that has no use. That ought to be an audit department under the Procurator General of the Supreme Court. If we make it an audit department, and that department finds that somebody has, any manager of public funds has misappropriated, then you send him to court. The President of the Republic has nothing to do about any person who has stolen and must be made to answer for the monies he has taken. So institutionally, we think that those two institutions have to be brought under the Procurator General of the Supreme Court. I want to say that under the Reform Party proposals, we don't want Minister of Justice, because that minister was put in place purposefully to bring the judiciary under the feet of the government, which is wrong. Cameroon is a unitary, decentralized state, and the decentralization structures of Cameroon are the region and the councils. Instead of that, we have a hyper-centralized system that is in place. I want to say that this system that is in place is unconstitutional because the Constitution has given us the structures that should be in place. So what is Reform Party proposing? We are proposing a very simple decentralized system that will have the advantage of cutting down government spending, simplifying administration, bringing administration to the village level.
And the practice of slaughtering an animal as time passes by is fast becoming a profession. Admired by many here in the economic capital, Douala, butchers are clamoring for a day to be set aside for them to be able to exhibit their know-how. Smart Njikan Gabriel now highlights their activity in the following report.
357 days are being recognized in a year as international days, but they don't have deers. They are bushes, and they also want to be recognized in their profession.
357 journées mondiales, il n'existe pas de journée mondiale pour les bouchers.
It is on this that butchers are now requesting that the government should recognize them. The brain behind the International Day for Bushes to be set is Pierre Angelo. He tells us the reasons for the move.
Et ça peut faire en sorte que le gouvernement tienne en compte.
It could be a way for the government to be aware of the plight of bushes. It will equally enable the bushes to know their rights. My objective is that Cameroon should be the birthplace of the International Day for Bushes.
Que ce soit le Cameroun qui soit le précurseur de cette journée mondiale.
At the New Daido market, the bushes explained to us that a majority of their customers are women, fondly called ASO. To enable the bushes effectively go about their exercise, a knife, an axe, and a kilo are some of the equipment used. Meanwhile, the prices of their slices of meat depend on the quantity the buyer needs. The consumption of meat enables one to acquire vitamins B3, B6, and B12, which are essential for growth.
We now take you right away to news out of Cameroon. Another terrorist attack hits Ouagadougou, the capital of Burkina Faso. Militants attacked the capital of the country that was today, leaving 7 security forces of Burkina Faso dead and at least 50 people seriously injured. Let's have the details with Oro News.
The capital of Burkina Faso, Ouagadougou, is in uproar after a series of attacks on the army headquarters, the French Embassy and Cultural Institute, and the Prime Minister's office. Army HQ was hit by an explosion, and masked gunmen were seen entering the compound. French citizens in the country are being urged to stay at home, and security forces are cordoning off the zones where fighting is underway. French troops are deploying to help the Burkinabe special forces, and sustained gunfire can be heard around the city.
And before we talk about our interview of the day, it should be noted that movements of commercial and private vehicles between 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. have been prohibited in 5 divisions in the southwest region of Cameroon. The decision signed by the governor of the southwest region, Bernardo Kaliabila, yesterday is to be implemented in Manyu, Lebia, Lemdiang, and also Meme, as well as Kupe Manengoba divisions. Fako has been spared as far as the administrative order is concerned. The injunction to last for 3 days, or 30 days rather, renewable, is to maintain peace and security in the entire region, according to the governor. Now, Professor Maurice Kamto has declared that the President of the Republic of Cameroon has failed to provide lasting solutions to the Anglophone crisis. The national president of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement told me, that was yesterday, that the government has not been able to identify the problems raised by English-speaking Cameroonians in the country, and that has led to the further escalation of the socio-political unrest rocking the northwest and the southwest regions of Cameroon. Professor Maurice Kamto, who has been Minister Delegate at the Presidency, or rather Minister Delegate at the Ministry of Justice in Cameroon, before his resignation in 2011, equally reacted on the situation of Anglophone Cameroonians seeking refuge in neighboring Nigeria, as well as future elections to be organized in Cameroon. Let's hear him in the following interview.
I'm more than concerned by the way the government has handled the matter, or has not handled at all. First of all, now they try to say, okay, it was just a matter of education, as you said, and legal system or whatsoever. But we are far beyond that now, because at the very beginning, the government, starting with the head of state himself, could have gone there, meet his people. He has been elected for that reason, to handle any situation occurring in the country. I don't understand why after 2 years he has not been able to go there, or to send a special message to the population of that area. They are Cameroonians. Whether you like it or not, they are Cameroonians. And for me, I don't make any difference between Cameroonians. They are dying. On both sides, they are Cameroonians. And we have to settle the matter. So, the poor leadership of the country should not despair the Cameroonians. That's why I call them to go and register, go and vote comes the day, and get rid of the poor leadership of the country, and give an opportunity to our fellow compatriots to come together, sit around the table, put their heads and hearts together. I'm sure they will find the right solution. There is no way we can escape from the debate on the form of the state. There is one single issue which, for me, is off the table. It's the issue of secession. Apart from that, all the other questions, whether it's federalism or whatsoever, we have to discuss that and see what is the better form for our country. Some people are in favor of two-state federalism, but some others are in favor of 10 states and so on. So we have to discuss that. Some are still in favor of regionalism and so on and so forth. But I think we have a very clever people. I'm sure that if they are confident in the government, they will be able to come out with a sound solution to the crisis.
You're saying that they should discuss the form of the state. You have equally mentioned that the President of the Republic is supposed to send a particular message, because it should be noted that he has addressed Cameroonians several times ever since the crisis escalated on the 31st of December. He has addressed Cameroonians even on the 11th, prior to the 11th of February. He has equally indicated that he has been sending delegations to the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. What do you have to say about that when you say that he should send special messages or envoys?
Yes, because in all those statements you are quoting now, I can't find a special message to the population of that side. 21st of October 2016, what did he say? that there is no discussion about the form of the government or the state. But this is not the message.
So the dialogue has been going on since the crisis.
With who and where? He sent some people there, some of its fellow comrades of CPDM holding some position in the government. But this is, I mean, this is not, sorry, the expectation of the people from that side. You send people whom the population do not want them, but yet you insist on sending the same people, creating a useless commission. Excuse me, because the Commission on Bilingualism is not something which can be the solution to this crisis. It should be a permanent body monitoring how far we have gone with the bilingualism in our country, but not to solve the current crisis. That's why I insisting in saying that if the head of state want to put an end to this crisis, if he cannot go there himself and talk to his people, because it is his people, then he should let Cameroonian know that he's not willing to rule the country anymore. It's not a matter of begging. It is his duty to do so. So I don't see any particular message. When he came back after some time abroad, at the airport, he read a message of 3 or 4 lines. What did he say? Just to escalate the crisis. But I didn't understand, I didn't hear any, peaceful message to these people, letting people understand that he's aware of what is going on and he is committed to settle it. No.
And the situation is escalating like this.
Absolutely.
The refugee crisis now, thousands, tens of thousands of African Cameroonians in neighboring Nigeria.
Absolutely.
We've equally been seeing how administrative authorities are being picked up by some yet to be identified individuals. And the government is so silent about the situation of refugees. We are seeing how the United Nations is reacting. What is the Cameroon Renaissance movement saying about the refugee crisis?
That it is sad to know that part of our people are now refugees in a neighboring country. A rich country like Cameroon, and they will be maybe starving there. They have their villages, they have their crops, they cannot do it anymore. And it is a pity. And when you call yourself a member of a government, a leader of a country, whether at any position you are, and you can let such a situation goes on, I see, my humble opinion is that you do not deserve to hold such a position. It is unacceptable that we can, let our lives go on smoothly, quietly, while part of our people is suffering in a neighboring country. Had I have the opportunity, I would have gone there to visit them. Unfortunately, for security reasons, I can't go there, but I would have loved to go there and meet them and talk to them. These are my people. I know them because when we were working on the situation, the crisis between our country and the neighboring country, I used to visit all those villages. I know them, one after other, starting from northwest to southwest. When you talk of Yumejok or Bodam, it's not something for me which is abstract. I know exactly how it is on the ground. So I cannot, I cannot live knowing that these people are suffering and we are not, as a country, as a government, doing anything. It's a pity. And you give me the opportunity to launch a call, an appeal to those who are in charge for some few months again of the country to take some responsibility and to show some concern for the sufferings of these people. They are not all secessionists. They are not all fighters. Let our people come back in their villages.
Do you think that they feel secured? They left it because they were not feeling secure in their country?
I agree with you, and that's why I'm launching the appeal, because if they feel secure, who will give them the security? It's the government. So it is the duty of the government to make its own people feel secure. Yes, that they can return.
Parliamentary session for the year 2018 opens this Friday. What are your expectations, Professor?
Nothing. Seriously, what do you want me to expect? I will be watching what they are doing there. if hopefully something good can come out for our country, then fine.
Are you going to be the candidate for the CRM party?
Hopefully my comrades will pick me up as their candidate, but for now they have not yet done so, because the convention of our party will take place on the 13th, 14th and 15th of April. And after that you will know if I'm the candidate or not, but I'm very hopeful.
What are your views on political transition in Cameroon today? Do you think that it can be enough to unseat the current regime that has been there for more than 30 years? Many say it's a solution.
Yes, I don't use the word transition because transition is something different. Transition means that you are coming out of, global crisis affecting the country, maybe civil war affecting the whole country, and then you need to form this type of coalition to have a transition for sometimes 12 months, 2 years or so. I think rather than if Cameroonian people register massively, go and vote massively comes the day, and monitor their vote, then we'll win. And definitely, I'm sure that, believe me, I'll come back here in your studio and you will call me Mr. President.
Thank you so much. That is Professor Maurice Kamto there speaking about the Anglophone crisis, the upcoming elections to be organized in Cameroon, as well as the November or the March session of Parliament that opened today in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. That brings us to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. Viewers, we thank you so much for joining us as usual, wishing you a blessed stay in the company of our programs. Until we meet again, goodbye.